Start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Panchadasi chapter 1 titled Tattva Viveka Prakaranam. The chapter which deals with Tattva. Tattva means the principle on which the entire universe is based. So this is how Vedanta takes up and visualizes the whole entire universe. So in the vision of Vedanta, which is the Upanishadic vision, there is one factor which is the cause of the universe, and that is called as Brahman. You may call it by any name. You can call it as pure Sat or existence. You can call it pure Chit or consciousness, or you can call it as pure Ananda. So what we are studying is how to map this world, map internally in our own mind. Outside, what we see is common for all of us. Whether you are a jnani, whether you have attended such classes, such sessions, or whether you have not attended it, the sense organs will report the same universe for all of us. What is the difference between a person who studies Panchadasi and a person who has not studied Panchadasi? The person who has studied Panchadasi is moving in the direction of being a wise person. They are on the track. They have not realized what the whole world is all about, but they are on the track. They are on the path, the spiritual path. So this chapter and any other chapter we have studied so far is all dealing with the spiritual path. What is the essence, what is the spirit behind the entire universe? If I come to know that spiritual essence, then I can also understand who am I? What is the essence behind this body-mind complex? So that is the topic. That is what is called as Tattva. And there are three words which are used in Taittiriya Upanishad, which is Sat, Chit, Ananda, to describe my nature as well as the nature of the entire universe. Nature means what? It is the intrinsic principle. Nature means it is the intrinsic principle. There is a superficial aspect to our nature, which is the body and mind. Body is gross, the mind is subtle. But what is the activator for this body and mind? That is the question asked in Keno Upanishad. What is the principle which activates the body and mind? Body means sense organs. There the answer was given as Shrotrasya Shrotram, the ear of the ear, the eye of the eye, the mind of the mind, the prana of the prana. All it refers to is called as Atma or Brahman. When it comes to the individual body, we call it as Atma. when it is coming with reference to the whole universe, it is called as Brahman. These are two technical terms. See, unless you understand the technical terms, you will not be able to understand the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or these type of texts. Like if you don't know what is a watt, or what is a neutron, a proton, if you don't know those technical terms, you can't understand physics. So similarly, in Vedanta, there are technical terms, and you should try to make a list of all these technical terms and the way you understand it. That is what is generally recommended by all the acharyas when we study this Upanishads or these type of texts, so that it becomes a reference point for you. Some of the texts also give the technical terms at the end of the text. There are some books which gives the technical terms. Okay, we have finished 5 verses. Today we're going to study the 6th verse. And all these verses are dealing with the definition of that reality, the essence behind the body, mind, and the essence behind the whole universe. So you should understand this broad outline of our study. If you're not clear, you can put down your questions in the chat box. You can ask me the question. I will answer this towards the end of the class. Now, this verse we are going to do today is an important verse because it is the essence of Mandukya Upanishad. If you want to study Mandukya Upanishad, what is the essence behind the whole 12 mantras in Mandukya Upanishad, you should look at this particular verse. Let us now first chant.
Sabodho vishayad bhinno, sabodho vishayad bhinno, nabodat swapna bodhavat, nabodat swapna bodhavat, evam stanatrayepyeka, evam stanatrayepyeka, samvitadvad tinantare, samvitadvad tinantare.
In one verse, Swami Vidyaranya, the author of this Panchadasi text, summarizes the entire Mandukya Upanishad. What does he say? He says that all of us undergo 3 states of consciousness. This is how I try to understand who am I with reference to the scriptural definition. So in this particular verse, we are looking at an individual like you and me, and we are trying to analyze our experiences. Mandukya Upanishad is an Upanishad which deals with specialization of analyzing waking, dream, and deep sleep. There are over 200 verses. Basically, there are 12 mantras in the Mandukya Upanishad, and the balance are all commentary on those 12 verses. The essence behind the Upanishad is we experience waking, dream, deep sleep. In the deep sleep, what is our experience? Our experience is ignorance. Ignorance of myself and of the entire universe. That is what Vidyaranya says in the first line. Consciousness in the deep sleep state is distinct. It is different than the object which we experience in the sleep state. That means the seer or the experiencer is different than the experienced world. The experienced world is that there is no world. There is no world in Vedanta is called as Ajnanam. Or it is also called as Prakriti. It's also called as Maya. So there is a knowledge in the deep sleep. That knowledge is what? I don't know anything is the knowledge. But there is an awareness principle which is awareing this knowledge. Knowledge belongs to the mind. The mind is saying, I don't experience anything. But who is the awarer? The awarer is called as consciousness. Then Vidyaranya goes to the next stage, which is the dream state. In the dream state also, there is a dream world. There is a dreamer and there is a dreamer. But the dreamer and the dream world, by themselves, they cannot know the dream world. They are assisted by consciousness or awareness. He has talked about deep sleep, he has talked about dream. And then he says, it is true also of the waking state. In the waking state also, there is a consciousness awareness principle. And there is a world. There is an objective world consisting of the body, mind, then all the sense objects which we experience. The bottom line is very important. What is the essence? What does he want to convey here? He says that the consciousness, the awareness principle is the homogeneous factor. It does not change. The awareing principle, the awareness, the consciousness, the ultimate experiencer, which is called as Atma or Brahman, is a non-changing factor in all the three states. So in the waking world, we see the objective world through the sense organs and the mind. In the dream, we see only the mind as an object of awareness. In the sleep state, both these worlds are resolved, and that resolved state, we call it as sleep. Sabodha. Sabodha means knowledge. Consciousness itself is called as jnanam, sambit, because it is the knowing principle. Vishayat bhinnam. This knowing principle is different from all the vishayas. Vishayas means objects of knowledge. What are the two objects of knowledge? One is ignorance of the world. Another is knowledge of the world. So there is a factor which is the knowing principle behind these two knowledges. The knowing principle is called as Drik. And the knowledge principle or the ignorance principle is called as Drishya. So Drik is the perceiver, cognizer, Vishayin. Drishyam is the perceived object or the world which is cognized and which is called as Vishaya in Sanskrit. So between the knower and the knowledge, there is a difference. Both cannot be the same. The knower cannot be the knowledge. That is what he is trying to explain in this verse. Na bodhat swapna bodhavat. Consciousness, the Drik in the sleep state, is non-different from the consciousness in the dream and waking. This is what I was trying to explain earlier. Consciousness, the awareing principle, does not change. Only the objects of consciousness change. Vishayi and Vishaya are different in each state. The prapancha, the world, changes in three states. You see, the world which we experience in the waking is totally different than the world we experience in the dream. And when both these two worlds are not there, that is also an experience. And that experience is again very different. Sthanatraye api eka sambit. In three abodes, there is only one consciousness. It alone is shining all the time. It is shining by itself. This awareness principle is a self-evident principle. Your mind has to go in the direction of the three states and then come to the consciousness principle, the awareness principle, and you have to abide in that state. That is the invariable factor. And what is the variable factor? The objects. That means Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. The sound, the touch, the form, the taste, the smell. These are the objects for consciousness. See, you must be able to see the line of thinking of the Upanishads. Then only you can reach the ultimate self. The Upanishad has a style of revealing the self. Who are you? You are consciousness. You are awareness. But there is a style of revealing that consciousness. If the experiencer is different, we'll not be able to connect our experiences in between the objects and also between the three states. Suppose what Vidyaranya is saying is, suppose the experiencer is different. What are the problems? That is what he is analyzing slowly. When we go through the slides, you will be able to appreciate this. Now, the time and space are different in different states. In the sleep state, there is no time, no space. In the waking state, the time seems to be long. It seems to be continuously being there in the waking state. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, time is always there. In the dream state, the time factor is totally different. Things happen very fast in dream. They say a normal dream lasts only for 3 minutes. But then for us, it appears as if we have dreamt for 3 hours. The Jiva says, I slept, I had a dream, and I am awake. That means there is one factor, which is I, which is continuously there. That I, which is continuously there, is the shining, ultimately revealing the three states. Vidyaranya wants us to focus on that consciousness, awareness principle. That is the single experiencer going through the experiences of the body-mind complex. Dakshinamurti Stotram, we have done this before. There are notes available in the website and also in my class notes. You will find the notes for this 6th verse. There's a very detailed description of this in my notes when I took Dakshinamurti Stotram. Rahu grasta divakarendu sadrishaha maya samachagana sanmatra karanopi samharanato yobhut sushupta puman. What is the essence in this verse? The essence is, in this verse, number 6 in Dakshinamurti, it says that there is one common factor between the sleep state and the waker. There is something common. There is an awareness principle which was awareing that there is nothing, no experience of the world. And now it says that I am experiencing this waking world. Pratyavijna in Sanskrit means recollection, recognizing the sleeper. The cognizing principle is consciousness, but what it cognizes in the 3 states is different. In the waking state also, our mental world is changing rapidly. In the waking state, when I am focusing only on some topic in my mind, suppose it's something to do with your son's admission in college, and you're thinking continuously about that. That means what happens? Your world in front of you is lost. You are able to identify only with that one small thing which you are worried about. That is what is called as daydreaming. Dreaming means you are attached, you are only focused, your attention is only on the mind. And who is illuminating that mind? And that illuminator is called as consciousness. The 3 states, they come and go. Waking, dream, sleep. Waking, dream, sleep. Sometimes waking, sleep, and then dream. So the way this order of our states keeps on changing. Some people, they go to sleep and then they will dream after some time. Some people, they go to, from waking, they go directly to dream. And then they sleep and then they get up. It changes from individual to individual. So the order of our 3 states may differ. For the same person, in one day, he can go from this state to this state. On the next day, he can go in the reverse direction. So consciousness is the same. That is what we should remember. Consciousness is the same yesterday, today, tomorrow. This consciousness being same, that is why all of us feel we have not changed at all. I have not changed. My body has changed. My hair has changed. My thoughts have changed. My height has changed. My weight has changed. But all of us intrinsically, we feel I have not changed. When you say I have not changed, it means the consciousness which is illuminating the body and the mind has not changed from birth till death. It remains the same. The whole goal of Vedanta is to understand that consciousness in us which is not changing. That consciousness, Trikalepi Tishtati iti Sat. It is called as Sat principle. Sat means it is always there. in the past, present, and in future, it will be there. Then you will ask a question, if I am that consciousness, how I don't see my future body? How I don't see my past bodies? Bodies are changing, but the awareness continues. Body may change, the mind may change. It goes to another body. But the awarer, the consciousness principle remains the same. This consciousness principle is defined in Taittiriya Upanishad as Sat Chit Anand. That is what Vidyaranya is analyzing in these verses. Okay? So that is what we have seen in the 6th verse. Now let us go to the 7th verse.
Ma shabda yugakalpeshu gata gamyeshvane kadha nodeti nastametyeka samvidesha swayam prabha Swayam Prabha.
See, these are the verses which we should keep in our mind because they are all trying to tell me who I am. In this verse, Swami Vidyaranya says that time will come and go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Days will change, years will change, months will change. What doesn't change is this consciousness. It is the same last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago also, the consciousness has not changed. That means I can boldly say, with reference to this consciousness, you can always say, I am immortal. That is the corollary which we can draw from this. I am eternal, not with reference to the body or mind, but with reference to consciousness. It doesn't have rising, neither it has setting. The consciousness doesn't rise like the sun rises in the morning and then it sets. There are no two conditions in consciousness. That is why we are able to say that I didn't experience anything in the sleep state. You have to take a step back in your sleep state and then analyze that there is an awareness of that sleep state. Your intellect should be able to do this subtle exercise in your own mind. In the sleep state, the awareness principle, am there. I am awareing that there is no world around me. I exist as that pure awareness. That awareness doesn't have a rising or setting because it is always there. It is the only Nitya Vastu in this entire cosmos. There is nothing in this universe which is Nityam, non-changing principle. That principle is my real nature. Then you will ask, what is the benefit of knowing this principle? Vedanta says, if you know this principle is there, and if you can claim that that is me, then your identification with this body and mind will drop off. Not that you will not remember who you are. By nature, What it means is you will still, the prarabdha of the body will still go on. The thoughts which are required for the existence of the body and the mind, it will keep going on. But you will not identify that as your essential nature. Masa yuge kalpe. Time rolls on in our lifetime. Incessantly, it keeps on rolling. The year comes, ages come. Satya Yuga. You know, there are yugas. Yuga means the whole creation changes. Whole creation, including the planet and all the stars, everything goes into unmanifest condition. Now it is all in manifest condition. Because it is catering to the karma phalam for the jivas in this creation. According to the Vedic time principle, there are 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And each of these yuga, the creation in each of them was totally different because it catered to the jivas in that yuga. Satya Yuga is supposed to be the greatest. Then Dwapara, then Treta, then finally the Kali Yuga is supposed to be the worst, which is what we are experiencing now according to the Hindu calendar. Kalpa means one cycle of creation. 4 yugas together is one kalpa. See how big is our time frame. Our time frame is huge. The Vedic time frame, astrology is amazing. It deals with yugas, not only years and millions of years, but yugas, one creation after the other. And 4 such yugas constitutes one kalpa. Like this, there are millions of kalpa which the world has come through and gone. Basically, it means this whole cycle of creation is infinite. It's anadi. Anadi means it is going on for continuously. It's going on. Gata agamyeshu, in the past and in the future, ananta koti janmas. If I have this knowledge of Chaitanya, Atma, different janmas will come and go, but I will know who I am. That is the promise of the Upanishads. Upanishads say that Upanishad will reveal the nature of each one of us. Once my mind is ready for this type of vision, then each one of us will get that vision. Once you get that vision, it will never end. Because you know your real nature. Normally, our modifications, we have seen this in Tattvabodha, there are 6 modifications we know. Jayate, Asti, Vardate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyati. First, the body is born. It comes from unmanifest condition to manifest condition. That is what is birth. Asti means it is existing. Vardate means is growing. From 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, it's growing. These are the conditions of the body. Viparinamate means it matures. Apakshiyate means it declines. You get disease and then declension comes. In Mahabharata, it said that Dashrath Maharaj saw one hair in his head, and he realized that it is time for him to give the throne to Rama. because it explained to him, it proved to him that he's getting old. Vinashyati. Vinashyati means body gets destroyed. But consciousness neither has any of these conditions. Neither it rises, neither it sets. Neither it grows, neither it has any of these 6 modifications. It is unborn and it is deathless. These are 2 things which we must remember always about our nature. As consciousness, I'm never born. Body is born in consciousness, but I, the consciousness, have no birth. Body has death. It belongs to Panchabhutas. It will go back to Panchabhutas. This is the promise of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 20. Najayate mriyate va kadachit. I never was born. I will never die. That's what Lord Krishna says about the nature of the jiva. Upadesha Sara also says, Sattva Phasika Chitva Vetara Sattaya Hichit Chittaya Hyam. Consciousness which illumines existence and existence which proves consciousness, both are the same. That means Sat is equal to Chit and Chit is equal to Sat. This is one way of saying that there is one principle which is a combination of Satchidananda. So once you say that this consciousness, awareness doesn't have death, it means it is Nityam. This is one of the very important words in Vedanta. And it refers to only one thing in creation, and that is consciousness. That is Atma. Nitya means eternal, means it is timeless. Time comes and goes in this eternity. The 6 modifications, they belong to Anatma, Prapancha, not to the Atma. And whatever is Nityam, whatever is eternal, is called as Satyam. So, Nitya means eternally the same truth exists. Satyam means always it is the truth. What are the 2 types of Nitya which we can see in the world? One type of Nitya is Parinami Nitya. Parinami means continuously changing. The change is continuous. That is eternal changes. Eternally changing. Like the Ganges is flowing eternally. Continuously the Ganges, if you look at the Ganga river, continuously is flowing for so many ages. Continuously it is modifying itself. That is one type of change. The earth, for example, you may not notice the change in the earth, but internally the earth is changing rapidly. But our eyes and sense organs are not able to perceive the changes in the earth. Neither can we see the changes in the planetary motion and all that, because it's not sensitive. Our senses are not able to capture that. This is one type of change. It is called as Parinami Nityam. The second Nityam is called as Kutastha Nityam. Kutastha Nityam means it is eternally the same. It is never changing. That is what is called as Atma. In Taittiriya Upanishad, Satyam is defined as Yat Rupena Yan Nishchitam Vastu Tad Rupam Na Vyabhicharita Tat Satyam. This is the definition in Taittiriya Upanishad. When we do the Taittiriya Bhashyam, we will see this definition. In Saturday classes, I'm doing Taittiriya Upanishad. So in those classes, this definition comes in the Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. In the notes of Shankaracharya's Bhashyam, I have got this definition. So Satyam is something where the nature or the characteristics of the objects does not change. That is what is called as the truth principle. In the past, in the present, in the future, it remains the same. What is the second factor we should know about this consciousness that is mentioned in this verse, in verse number 7? It says Swayam Prabha. Swayam Prabha means self-effulgent. Okay. Now these are some revision notes which I have put here. I was talking about this verse, the chapter 2, verse number 20. Najayate mrete va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita navana bhuyah ajo nityah shashvatoyam puranah na hanyate hanyamane sharire. What it means is that consciousness never gets killed. Neither the consciousness is the killer in the battlefield, neither the consciousness is killed in the battlefield, because killing and killer belongs to the body. It is, if you identify with the body, you are the killer. If you identify with the body, you are killed. But if I am identified with the consciousness, awareness principle, there is no killer or killed. Everybody is the same. That is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. The whole topic of 18 chapters can be focused on this single verse. The whole Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters, is only trying to reveal this nature of Atma in everybody. Lord Krishna is trying to say all human beings, living beings, are nothing but this non-changing consciousness principle called Atma, na jayate, na mriyate. See how beautiful this verse is. Consciousness is deathless, it is birthless. Vidyaranya is taking the same thing and telling us in the 7th verse. The same message is trying to convey. This changeless and changing, I have just now explained. And Nitya means permanently changing. Whenever we use the word Nitya, and when we use Satyam, what is the difference between Satyam in Sanskrit and Nitya in Sanskrit? Whenever we are talking about something changing permanently, which is called as Parinami Nitya, then the word Nitya is used. Then changeless permanently. There is another Nitya, which is Atma. And that is what is called as Satyam. So Satyam always refers to consciousness. And that consciousness is also changeless. Okay. Samvid says Swayam Prabha. Swayam Prabha, that is what we are now discussing. Swayam Prabha means what? It is self-effulgent. It does not require illumination of something to be luminous. That means Atma does not require another Atma to make Atma evident. So in my sleep state, I am of the nature of consciousness. In the waking state, I am of the nature of consciousness. In the dream state, I am of the nature of consciousness. That consciousness principle is self-evident. A cup or a desk, it is not self-evident. The chair or a desk or a phone does not know itself. But I know myself. I am aham. That knowing principle in me is self-evident principle. The stars have light of their own. Like the self has a light of its own, the stars have the light of their own. Planets and satellites, they are reflecting the light of consciousness. Body, mind, world, everything is reflecting, it is getting reflected where? In the consciousness principle. All objects are inert. What illumines those objects is consciousness. Swayam Jyoti, we have seen in Panchadasi, there's one full chapter based on this one principle, Swayam Jyoti. We have covered that in the past. So Swayam Jyoti means it is a very unique concept in Advaita Vedanta. Nowhere else you will find this term being used. If you ask, can another consciousness illumine one consciousness? The answer is no, because then for that consciousness you require another consciousness. So it's a infinite regression logical problem. In Sanskrit, it is called as anavastha dosha. What if consciousness becomes object of knowledge? That means conscious will become inert if it is object of knowledge. Anything which is an object of knowledge is inert substance. That is another law we should remember. Yad drishyam tat jada. Whatever is experienced is jada. Anything you experience, it is jada, jada vastu. Drishyam. Drishyam is always jadam. Jadam means inert. It doesn't have its own knowing principle. The knowing principle is always borrowed. It is always a reflected knowing principle. Like all of us have the knowing principle because that knowing principle is reflected in my mind. Consciousness has two parts. Suppose consciousness has two parts, conscious number one and conscious number two. I mean, these are all some logical explanations which are given by different commentators on this Panchadasi. So basically what they're saying is the knower and known can't be in the same object. In the same locus, a knower and known cannot be the same. There is a lot of logic behind it. I'm not going to go to the depths of those. How do I know that I am? It is not through the sense organs or the mind. You see, all of us, when we close our eyes in meditation, for example, we know that we exist and we are conscious. I am conscious. I am conscious. Now, how is this known? Is it known through some sense organ? No. Is my eyes telling that I am there? No. Is my mind saying I am there? No. I am is a consciousness entity. It is self-revealing. That is what Vidyaranya wants to say this by this Swayam Prabha. This awareness of the self remains even in the absence of the mind. That is why we should remember this consciousness is self-evident. This particular point should become, is a very subtle point. Not many people can understand this easily. Swayam Prabha. Keep thinking of this word called Swayam Prabha. Self-evident. It doesn't require anything. This is our nature. If you can also try to experience this in yourself as your real nature, it will really help you a lot in the spiritual path. Self illumines its own presence and its own absence. Can we say that? No. Self is always revealing. It can never go out of existence. That is what is the difference between existence and appearance. Existence is always there. That existence is awareness. Self-awareness is Swayam Prabha, is a cardinal principle in Advaita. It's a very important principle. In Vedantic Upanishad, this particular verse is very important because it reveals that it is not the organs of speech or organs of any of the organs. They don't know the self because they are inert by nature. Eyes cannot know consciousness, but consciousness knows the eye's condition. When the doctor asks me, can you read that letter on the, then you say, no, it's very blur, I can't read. Who is the knower of that eye's condition? It is consciousness. Okay, that is how we differentiate what is this consciousness and who is the knower of this consciousness. This consciousness is there in all the organs. It is the activator of the organs of knowledge and it is the activator of the organs of action. That is what is given in this Vedantic Upanishad, this particular mantra which I have quoted here. The organs do not know consciousness, but consciousness knows the condition of the organs. That is the point we should remember. What is this consciousness? Adrishta drishta. That means it is an unseen seer. Unheard hearer. That is the Shrotrasya Shrotram. The same type of thought process is there in Vedantic Upanishad also. It is the knower, it is the unknown knower. That means what? The knowing principle is the mind, but what knows the mind is unknown. Unknown means what? It is the awareness principle. So consciousness is unknown to the senses, it is unknown to the mind. But who knows that? Consciousness knows itself intrinsically, without the medium of the body, mind, and the world. This point you should keep in mind. This is the definition of that self-evident Swayam Prabha. That is the nature of consciousness. So consciousness is Nityaha, Satyaha, Swayam Prabha. These are the, and consciousness is Ananda. 4 factors Vidyaranya explains of the nature of this Atma. So Chit is Sat and Sat is Chit. Both are nothing but Atma. Atma means inner essence. This is what is said in verse number 7. Verse number 8, we'll take it up next week. Now this verse starts the topic of Ananda. There'll be some verses related to the bliss aspect of Atma. So what did we learn today in the 6th and the 7th mantras? What we learned is that consciousness never has birth or death. It is a continuously existing principle. And this consciousness is the factor which remains the same in all the 3 states of the mind: waking, dream, and sleep. See, just to explain the essence of this Atma, see how slowly we have to tread. The topic of Atma is not very easy to understand. That is why we have to take it slowly and try to understand this consciousness principle, because it's very abstract. Okay, so the eighth mantra, we'll take it up next week, and slowly you will understand. See, when you go through these verses, you should remember it is only talking about my real nature. My nature is Nityaha. My nature is Chaitanya. Always you should apply this knowledge about Atma to your own self. You should not say there is Atma somewhere. No, I am that Atma. I am self-evident. I am consciousness. If you have this type of thought process in your mind, you will grow in spirituality in leaps and bounds. This is the way to understand these verses. And when you understand like this, what will happen? You will prove to yourself that you are consciousness. Okay, so I am of the nature of Ananda. How do I know that I am of the nature of Ananda? This is also a very subtle topic, and it is a topic for self-inquiry. You have to see whether your own experience is of Ananda intrinsically. The mind may go through some fluctuations of sorrow, happiness. That is not your real condition. It is a condition of the mind. But your intrinsic condition as Atma is always blissful. That is what Vidyaranya is going to say in the next 2-3 verses. They are very interesting verses. We'll do it next time. Okay. Oh. Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we'll see if there's any questions on the chat box. Okay, there are a few questions. I will take, there are 2 questions. The first question is, if consciousness is same, why we don't know our previous birth? Very good question. Consciousness is our real nature. It is always there. Awareness of the body is dependent on the mind. For example, if I ask you, you are there in the sleep state. Do you know anything in the sleep state? Nothing. You don't know anything. You don't know yourself. You don't know the universe. But are you there or not? That condition of yours, when you are alone there, is the condition of your real nature. That never changes. So, The birth of the body, the birth of the mind is a continuous phenomenon. It is a cycle. We are not aware of our previous birth because the body was born, body has died. I have not changed. So if you focus on the consciousness part, this question itself will not arise because you are now taking yourself as the body and asking this question. But if you are consciousness, this question will not arise because you know your nature. With reference to the body, you are asking about the knowledge of previous birth. That means you are referring to your body. As body, you can never know consciousness. Body is inert. It cannot know consciousness. Consciousness, which is always there, knows itself. In this consciousness, I don't know, I'm trying to answer your question. This is about the birth and death. The first thing you should understand is birth and death belongs to the body. It does not belong to the consciousness. Whenever you're talking of birth, you're referring to the body. You're not referring to the consciousness. The moment you talk about consciousness, it has no birth, no death. So the pure consciousness can never know itself. It will always require a medium. That is why there are two words which are used. One is called as manifestation. The body manifests consciousness. Consciousness illumines the body. These are the two ways in which we try to describe the difference between anatma and atma. Atma illumines anatma. Anatma manifests. Like the moonlight manifests sunlight. Sunlight illumines the moonlight. So here, what you should know is that ultimately what the Veda is saying is this birth and death is mithya. It is only an appearance. It has got no real existence. What doesn't have real existence is called as mithya. It's just an appearance. So what really exists is only consciousness. And if you understand the statement which I just now made, what really exists is only consciousness. There is no concept called as birth with reference to consciousness. Okay, so the question is with reference to the body, it is not with reference to consciousness. That is the answer to this question. There is no birth, there is no death with reference to consciousness. There is birth and there is death with reference to the body. As body, I can say I have birth and death. Consciousness does not see the birth of the body or death of the body is from the consciousness angle. It only alone is from that consciousness only this appearance is coming and appearance is going. There is no death or birth of the screen. Only the movie characters are coming and going on the screen. The death, birth belongs to the movie characters. It does not belong to the screen. Anyway, contemplate on this. You will slowly understand the answer to your question. It is not an easy answer. It's a very good question, but keep contemplation. The more you hear Vedanta and the more you hear your mind contemplates, this answer will come to you. Next question. Manifested earth arises out of unmanifest. So how can we put earth and running Ganges in one type of nitya? manifested earth arises out of unmanifest. Okay. Okay. This is again a subtle topic, because this is how Shankaracharya describes this Nitya and the word Nitya. See, this concept Nitya and Satyam is a slightly subtle meaning given in this context here in Panchadasi. What you're saying is manifest earth arises out of unmanifest. Okay, this is clear. At that angle, at that reference point, there is no Nitya, and there is no Ganges, there is no earth. From that angle of manifest, unmanifest, this concept of Nitya will not work. Nitya will work only from the concept of the empirical angle. The moment you shift your reference point to unmanifest condition, this will not work. None of the words which we use in the empirical world will work for the unmanifest condition. You're already jumping from one state to another state. So your question is right. You are right that Nitya will never work in a unmanifest condition. Okay, Vishal has a question. So everybody has been unmuted now. So the person who asked this question about this earth and the previous question, if you need any further clarification, you can ask me now.
So Vishal, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Deep. Sir, my question is,
was this the first two questions where you, did you ask these first two questions?
No, sir, not me.
Okay. This question of consciousness remaining same, who, if the person who asked this, I don't know who asked this.
Sir, I asked it. I am Saurabh Pandey, sir.
Yeah, so Saurabh Pandey, can you let me know whether you have understood my answer?
Yes, sir, I have understood your answer, but one little doubt is there, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, like one logic is given that in a waking state, in dream state, and also in deep sleep state, consciousness is present.
Correct.
So consciousness is watchful of all these three states. So the reason is given that one particular consciousness is witnessing all these three states. So we say that there is something which is beyond these three states. That is the logic given for consciousness.
That's correct. Yes.
Means
that is the logic behind that behind the concept called as recollection after sleep. You know, for example, in the waking state, you make a statement, I had a good sleep. So who is that I who had a good sleep? That I which is had a good sleep is making the statement in the waking state. But it is referring to the I in the sleep state. So there is some common aspect between the waker I and the sleeper I. What is that common factor is what Shankaracharya is asking. And he is asking so that you can arrive at consciousness.
Sir, so that recollection is due to that consciousness. We recollected because consciousness exists.
Yes.
So now, thus my question was that consciousness was also present in the previous births. So why I am not able to recollect that memory?
That consciousness was present in the previous birth, but the body is different now. That consciousness which was present in the previous birth and the body was different in the previous birth.
So can I say something to this?
No, wait a minute. Let me finish with it. That body had a mind. Whenever you are talking about birth, you are not talking about the birth of the mind. You are only talking about the birth of the body. That body which was attached to was present in that previous birth had a mind. See, for example, today you will say, how come I don't experience, forget about the previous birth. Let's look at the current waking state itself. Do I experience the birth of all the children in the world? No. There are so many people, so many minds, so many bodies which are being born every minute in every corner of the world. I don't see it. Why? Because there is a limitation of the mind with the body. Consciousness doesn't have any limitations, but the limitations belong to the mind instrument which is experiencing. The mind and the body is very, very limited. It has very limited knowledge. The knowledge of your mind is extremely limited. The knowledge, the capacity of your body is also extremely limited. It's very finite. But we are not talking of the finiteness of the body or of the mind or the body. We are only saying that consciousness is the factor which can witness both. That point you should not miss out. It can see the manifested body and mind. It can also see the unmanifested body and mind in the sleep state. That point is extremely important. It can see both the conditions of your mind, the mind's manifested condition, the mind's unmanifested condition, the consciousness is aware. That is what Mandukya Upanishad is trying to bring out. And that is a very, very deep principle in your own self. It is not the mind, it is the consciousness. The principle is the consciousness. So try to focus on the consciousness part and forget the body. You see, you don't even remember last week or yesterday's things today. Forget about previous birth. You see, we don't, the memory of past is a condition of your mind. It is not the condition of consciousness. Awareness doesn't change. Awareness is just a light. It is the light in which all these things are happening. And from the consciousness point of view, this whole birth, death, the whole cycle of waker, deeper, sleeper, this whole cycle is mithya. This is another point you should understand. You see, there are a few salient features of Vedanta which you should try to connect and remember. One of the main things is that the consciousness is nirvikara. It is never changing principle. It is always a light. It is a light like the sunlight, for example. In the sunlight, there is no change. Changes are there in the earth, which is getting the reflection of the sun rays, and then things are getting illumined here. Contemplate on this more and more. It's a good question, but you see, your question is more to do with the condition of the mind rather than consciousness. Birth is only with reference to the gross body. At the gross level, consciousness does not come into play directly. It is through the mind it experiences the world of five objects. Okay, any other questions in this matter? Keep thinking. I don't want you to you just let your mind absorb the truth of Vedanta more and more, so that all these points you're raising will become clearer to yourself. Your own intellect will answer this question when some of the aspects of the teaching strikes your mind.
So with Saurabh's question, I wanted to say something. Can I say Saurabh's question only?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my understanding is that as a Jivatma, we don't remember our previous births.
Okay.
But when the Jivatma merges into the Brahm and becomes a Jivan Mukt, enlightened Ishwar, that is why a Buddha, when he became enlightened, he could remember all his previous births, because in the Brahma, everything exists at the same time. There is no time and space in the time space in the Brahma, but the Brahma has all the information. Therefore, a Buddha could see even 10,000 previous births and could even see the future, or so basically you can see the birth if you become from a Jivatma to a Jivan Mukt. That's my understanding, because then you merge with the Brahma. You become you become the consciousness. You become the being. So you can see the previous births, but not as a body and mind, but when you become enlightened.
Yeah, it's consciousness. You see, the moment you say I am consciousness, then you can say as consciousness, things came and went, came and went, came and went. It arrived, it disappeared. It arrived, it disappeared. The world arrived, it arrived and disappeared. Yugas have come and disappeared. But what is remembrance? You see, the question is that why we don't know our previous birth. The emphasis here is of the knowledge. That knowledge is referring to the mind, which is aware. You see, you should not. The question you have to dissect that question into.
Yeah. Understood. Yes.
Here you are talking about the knowledge in the mind. It is not knowledge in the consciousness.
Yeah.
That is why I said mind is limited. All minds are limited. You will only remember a little bit only. Remembrance is a function of the mind. It is a function of the subtle body. And it is extremely, very, very small, infinitesimal point or part of our life we remember.
Shekhar, can I just add something?
Yeah, Venkatesh.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like Saurav, what he is trying to say is, since the consciousness is same and the mind is carrying to the next birth and all, so why conscious is not able to remember the birth? Let us limit this to the Jiva case only, not the enlightened case where everything is known and all. See, what is happening is when you are taking this different birth, first we have to say the change of birth is a phenomena. Phenomena means the composition of mind in every birth is not same. Though it's your mind only, your mind is a constituent of so many births. What is said is basically like, if we remember somewhere we have read earlier, when you take a new, say any subsequent birth and all, whichever is the predominant factor, that is what with you are going to take your next birth. So your whole birth, which is after the mind which gets into the unmanifested state, merges with everything and all, whichever is the dominating factor in that mind, with that you are going to take a new mind. So that is what is called a phenomena. Phenomena means, see, we do not remember what is happening in our same birth. So we cannot remember what is happening in the next birth because it is associated with the memory. So anything associated with the memory, it has a perceiving capacity, which has a limit. And to be very honest, actually, if somebody would like to know like what is their previous births and all, there are certain processes called eternity process and all, where you can go to your previous birth and you can just call actually. So this reminds why one could able to say that you have taken a new birth, but you still do not remember what is the previous mind and all. But some people, if you just say they are in the sattvic state, and I have remembered there were a few cases in the YouTube and all, I was just saying, a person who could be able to remember his previous birth, all the Bhagavad Gita, all the stanzas, everything, he could able to get that remembrance and all. Because in the previous Janma, depending on the state of his mind, whichever is the most dominant factor, with that, if he could able to take the next birth, then only he could able to recollect that memory. because memory is a perceiving capacity. Like if we say we cannot see Mars, it does not mean the Mars is not there. It is only limitation of perception. So
Yeah.
the birth is also something like that. Yes, once you get enlightened in all, consciousness could able to see everything and all, that's a different scenario. But as far as birth is concerned, like what Shekharji is saying, we have to consider birth is exactly same like these three states of our Trayavastha. In sleep state, we do not remember what has happened. It is exactly like death also, it is like we can say another sleep state, which we can say is a permanent state of sleep, where we forget everything. What is there in the past, we do not remember. Is something like that. So the birth is, every birth we have to take it as a phenomena.
Yeah, thank you, Venkatesh. Actually, I would go the opposite way. Thank goodness God has made us not to
Exactly.
remember our previous births.
It would have been real
What
miserable.
will happen to all of us if we could remember all our previous births? Our life would be miserable.
Yeah, so that's why it's a phenomena. So the birth has, I mean, the life has got a certain feature
Sir,
with which.
Can I rephrase this? Just the way the subtle body carries from one birth to another and our karmas are carried from one birth to another. The question, rephrasing the question, just the karmas are carried and the karmas are remembered by something from one.
No. Karmas are not remembered.
No, not remembered. I'm
It
just saying
is
carried forward.
It is only a law of karma which is explaining to us how the birth, rebirth happens in this.
Yes.
universe.
So I mean,
That's
I use the wrong word remembered, but in context of the remembering the birth, the previous birth, I wanted to say, just the way the subtle body does not die and it carries forward to the next birth, and our karmas also, according to the law of karmas, carry forward. Why? Since the mind, the subtle body has the manomaya kosha, has the mind, then the question rephrasing to understand deeper, then why don't our memories also of that birth carry forward? Just the way.
It's not only one birth, no? There are some millions of births are there.
Yes.
So all this gets mixed up actually. So when you take a next birth, whichever is the most dominant factor, so how that mixing is happening, which one you are going to remember and all, is a phenomena. It's not that just this life, this thing only you get carried to the next birth and all, you will continue like that. No, it doesn't go like that.
Anyway, it's a good discussion. I think we should stop the discussion of that because there is no. It's a.
Yeah, the karma body.
It's a never-ending discussion.
Yes, my next question, sir. Next question, sir.
There is
So,
Sir, one point I want to add to that.
No. Ajita, just let me finish with the Vishal, then I'll come to you.
So my question is that Sat Chit Anand and Satyam Jnanam Anantam, they are the same
Yeah, they are the same. They are the same.
Yes, so that's it.
Okay, so Satchidananda is a shorter form of Satyam Jnanam Anantam.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Ajita, go ahead.
Yes, sir. A Purva Janma, Karma Bala is the present Janma.
Okay.
Okay. That in that Punya Papa, whatever we have done, exhaustion of that is also included in our present Janma.
Yes.
And what we have, we were escalated in the spirituality, also we can experience in our present Janma. Maybe, yeah. These all are the basic things what we are studying first.
Yes.
Yeah, on the spirituality, we are studying all this. Then this Purva Janma, regarding that, there is no more discussion, no more doubts. That is, whatever Punya and Papa Karma we have did, because of that, our present Janma.
Correct.
Yeah, that is I want to point out that that's only.
Okay, good, Ajita. It's a good point you have clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. there's one more question raised. Is there an existence of subtle body? Yes. The Shastras talk about the existence of subtle body. They talk about the existence of three bodies: gross body, subtle body, and causal body. So when you study Mandukya Upanishad, you will understand that the causal body is the cause for the subtle body as well as the gross body. The sleep state is the cause for the waking state and the dream state. Waking state is always with reference to the gross body. Dream state is always with reference to the subtle body. Is there any existence of the subtle body? Here you should be slightly careful when you talk about existence. Normally in Vedanta, we use the word existence only for sakshi. We use the word appearance for everything else. Everything else is an appearance. The only thing which is existent is the absolute principle, which is called as pure existence. Everything also has existence, but they are reflected existence. Reflected existence means it is appearance. It means it is mithya. Okay, just for that is only. I don't think you are asking from a technical aspect. I think you're only asking whether there's any existence behind subtle body or not. Subtle body exists. Why why we can say that is all the yoga prishtas in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. They talk about people who have experienced something, who are experiencing now. What is the proof of the existence of the subtle body? If you ask, the answer to that question is dream. No dream can exist without a subtle body. Subtle body means what? Primarily it consists of the mind. And our dream experience proves that there is something called as the mind, which you can see very clearly only in the dream state. The mind is different, and the seer of the mind, which is consciousness, is different. The distinction of mind and consciousness is, the best example is dream. Okay, I think I've answered the question. Anybody else has any other question? These are good questions, and the topic we are discussing is extremely deep, very, very deep topics we are discussing in this Panchadasi chapter 1. Very, very subtle topics, very deep topics. You can see the explanation of each verse is so much in depth.
Today's meditation I find really excellent actually. It's something which is worth practicing again and again, and it really makes a big difference in the simplest way actually.
Correct.
How the mind is an interface with the outer world and the consciousness.
Yes.
So this is the best way of doing. It's like a coin with two ends. So what we expose to the senses and all, you see the world, and when you see the consciousness, and you will be seeing that Brahman actually. So they are in the same domain. That is what is the best part. That domain that makes
locus, yes, in the same locus. You see, don't look for something else. That Chaitanya is somewhere, and mind is somewhere, and all that. Same locus.
It is exactly the same domain where the concept of 10th person comes into the picture. So which we really look into that. So this meditation is really fantastic. It's really
good. I mean, these are the things which I have learned from the Shankara Bhashyam on Keno Upanishad. That's why small trickles are coming out slowly, you know.
No, this domain, that simple word, it really makes a big difference. That's what I could see.
Yeah. Correct. Shankaracharya, the credit goes to Shankaracharya for this. All these thoughts are all from Shankaracharya.
Yeah,
That's why I said that, if anybody wants to study Upanishads deeply, always remember the only source is Shankaracharya Bhashyam. There is nothing which is pure, so deep as his commentary on Upanishads. And the most difficult commentary is Shankaracharya's commentary on Mandukya Upanishad. Very, very, very deep.
Yeah.
Extremely deep. I mean, I just started writing a commentary on Shankara Bhashyam on Mandukya Upanishad. It will take me 3 years to complete. 3 to 4, or maybe 4 years. I don't know. This, but right in the beginning of
Karyakarni on the top of it, this Abhyasa will be excellent.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, for anybody who wants to go deeper into Vedanta,
yeah,
try to read in about roughly about 2 months. My whole commentary on Keno Upanishad will be ready in about roughly about. It's getting typed now. I have already finished writing, so it's getting typed. In about 4 weeks from now, I will circulate the entire Keno Upanishad Shankara Bhashya. It's an amazing work of Shankaracharya.
yeah.
So many deep topics, clarifications, questions of they get clarified.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.